I want to move on to Michigan State. That was a team that was really boomer bust defensively last year. They had the most TFLs and most sacks in the conference, or second most TFLs, excuse me, but they had the worst pass defense and the worst total defense in the Big Ten because they let up so many big plays. But you got Peyton Thorne back, you got Jaden Reed, who's a guy who I think is going to be one of the top playmakers at wide receiver in the conference. Certainly, Kenneth Walker is not walking through that door. That's a pretty big deal. Can they replicate another 11-win season? Simple question.
It's concerning. You know, when I was looking at them, I said, hey, there's a lot more room for a step back than there is a step forward. And, you know, losing Kenneth Walker was such a big part of their offense. But again, it's not sexy to talk about this, but the offensive line is a concern for me, because not only do you have to replace the talent at running back, but do you have the guys up front to generate movement and create holes? They finished spring ball. They finished spring ball with 8 guys. They couldn't have a spring game because they didn't even have the depth to have 2 teams. So not only that, do you have 5 guys that you feel confident can be a beast and can start and help you out across the offensive line? So there's a depth issue, there's a talent issue. And, you know, for Peyton Thorne, can he take the step forward? Well, he's going to need guys up front to protect him so he can get the ball to all of his weapons. So that's just something I'm considering. I think their offensive line play is going to dictate their ceiling this fall.
Yeah, I think 11 wins is a stretch. They're going to have the ball bounce their way on quite a few occasions. And as we all know, we've seen crazier stuff happen. I mean, Iowa was ranked number 2 in the country at one point last year. So we've seen crazier stuff happen. But to your point, Jake, I just don't see it with what they lost and what they need to fix and what they need to compensate for. I don't see it on that roster.
All right. I want to get this one in real quick, and it's probably not going to be a quick conversation because I think all of us like this team right now. Maryland is a really interesting case. Made a change at defensive coordinator for their last 2 games, took a big step forward, but it's really the offense that's the story. You got Lia Tagovailoa, who I think is probably the most underrated quarterback returning in all of college football right now. At his high end, the dude is phenomenal. We've seen him at his low end. It's not good football, but if he can remain even keeled mentally and emotionally, I think he can take that step. And then you've got Dante Demas Jr., you got Rakim Jarrett, you've got Jayshon Jones at the wide receiver spot. Is Maryland in a window where they can compete a little bit?
So the thing for Maryland is I'm looking at their schedule right here. I see 6 wins. I can give them 6 wins off the top. I think that they'll be they'll be playing in a bowl game. The key for Maryland is they're 4-40 all time, Josh, against the Big Four in the Big Ten East, which is Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, and Penn State. They've really struggled. Now, they've scared those teams. And, you know, anytime you have an explosive offense, you can compete. But I think program change happens in small steps. So now you have to go from scaring some of these teams. Can you steal at least 1, maybe 2 of those games away from one of the Big Four? I think that would be a sign. And I think they have the quarterback to do it. They have the talent on offense. You know, a couple balls are going to have to go their way and they're going to have to be on their A game. But that's how they're going to measure their success this year. Can they steal away 1 or 2 of the games from the Big Four there in the Big Ten East?
Okay, so that is actually a good point that you make, because last year they beat all the teams they're supposed to beat, but you look at their losses: Iowa, Ohio State, Minnesota, Penn State, Michigan State, and Michigan. Like, they literally didn't beat the teams that they needed to pull an upset on. And they made it to a bowl game. They won their bowl game, but I think key for them is probably going to be where they can steal a couple of wins this season. Hack, as you evaluate this offense, I mean, what's the top end? Where can they be by the end of the year?
I mean, I think they're very explosive. And, you know, when you're talking about top end, you know, who knows what that is? You know, stay healthy. There's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think their offense, to Jake's point, puts them in situations to be successful. But ultimately, I think you make a great point. Like, what's the definition of compete for Maryland right now? When you look at the entirety of the program, like, what's the definition of compete? And I think getting on a consistent run of bowl game appearances and then starting to not just scare some of these bigger teams in the East because of how dominant this side of the conference is, you got to steal them. And, you know, I'm going to keep beating a dead horse with some of these points because I think you guys covered it pretty well. But I think they need to start to see that happen more consistently for them to really be a riser within the conference. And they have some things that are working against them. You know, their backyard gets plucked by every single one of the big four in that side of the conference.
Yep.
So, you know, you got to start keeping some talent at home, and there's a lot of things that go into it. But, you know, it's just the definition. And I look forward to seeing how explosive the offense is. It'll be fun to watch, but I think it's going to be tough for them to emerge with everything that's going on in that side of the conference.
Yeah, they're going to be a team that benefits when the Big Ten goes away from divisions, certainly, because it's really rough for them right now. And to your point about talent, I think that there are enough guys in their backyard at skill positions that they can be successful. The hard thing is maintaining the lines of scrimmage, because those guys are certainly getting plucked out.
Yes.
And I don't think that there are a lot of great guys up front just heading into college. A lot of those guys are developmental in the first place. Again, this is the Field 12 After Dark Big Ten preview show presented by BetRivers. Like and subscribe on YouTube. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, let's